Welcome to Roll Credits, where movie and TV lovers get the trivia they didn't know they needed. This podcast was created with a little help from AI tools. We do our best to keep things accurate and fun, but some details might slip through, so double check if you're quoting this at your next Star Wars watch party. Today, we're returning to the Razor Crest and beyond with The Mandalorian Season 3, the season that delves deeper into Mandalorian creed, legendary swords, and high-stakes flashbacks.
That's right.
We're doing a real deep dive today into Season 3.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
For sure. And our mission, really, for you listening, is to kind of pull back the curtain on the story. Yeah. And the cool facts, the production side of things, how they brought Mandalore, back to life, or, well, scarred life.
Scarred is a good word for it. Yeah, we've dug into interviews, behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Try and hit the highlights.
It felt ambitious, right? Both the story and just how it looked.
Absolutely breathtaking. Visually, it felt like they needed a whole new level of world building for this one.
So let's set the scene a bit for Season 3. We'll try and keep it pretty spoiler light, just the setup.
Good idea.
It kicks off after Din Djarin and Grogu got back together, which actually happened over in the Book of Boba Fett. A lot of people might have missed that if they skipped that show.
Right, and that reunion was huge because Grogu actually chose Din. He walked away from Jedi training with Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. That choice, it really hangs over everything, doesn't it? It cements their bond.
It totally reframes the season, really. Because Din, he starts Season 3 needing redemption. He took his helmet off.
Big no-no for his particular group.
Exactly, a major breach of the creed. So his quest is personal get to the living waters under Mandalore.
But it becomes something bigger, right? His personal journey kind of mirrors what all Mandalorians are going through.
Precisely. His need to cleanse himself sort of parallels the whole effort to reclaim Mandalore itself. Personal growth tied to, cultural rebirth. It's pretty neat.
And while he's doing that, Grogu's got his own thing going on. Developing his force powers. We saw him lifting those little crab things, which was a funny callback.
Yeah, like Luke with the frogs or Rey in the rocks. A little Easter egg there.
But he's also getting formally adopted into the culture, right, as a foundling. He becomes Din's son, officially.
Which is just a lovely development. Grounds all the big space opera stuff in something really relatable family.
Meanwhile, you've got Bo-Katan Kryze. Her journey is complex this season.
Oh, definitely. She starts off pretty lost, actually. Leader without a people, without the Darksaber.
But she finds her way back. Katie Sackhoff talked about this a lot. It's about her reclaiming her purpose, uniting all the scattered Mandalorians.
And eventually leading them home. So the big picture isn't just Din's redemption. It's this massive movement, unifying the Mandalorians, facing Moff Gideon's Imperial remnant.
Yeah, establishing them as a real force again.
Exactly.
That bigger scope really jumped out at me in Season 3. It wasn't just Mando and Grogu's adventure of the week anymore. These themes felt heavier. Redemption, rebirth, unifying a whole people. Was that shift planned from the start?
It seems like it was, yeah. Favreau and Filoni, they talked about how Din's personal quest kind of gets swept up to this larger current. He and Grogu become like catalysts for this whole cultural moment, which of course meant the production had to step up its game. Big time.
Right. The visuals had to match that ambition. Which brings us to how they actually did it. How did they pull off those visuals?
Well, the big answer there is stagecraft. The volume.
Okay, explain that a bit. It's not just a big TV screen, right?
No, not quite. It's this amazing visual effects tech from ILM. Think massive curved LED walls. Super high res. And they display these CG backgrounds, but in real time while they're filming.
So the actors are actually seeing the environment.
Exactly. And the cameras see it. It evolved from tech used on things like Rogue One, even the Lion King remake. But Mandalorian really made it famous.
And it does more than just look pretty, right? The lighting.
Oh, absolutely crucial. It creates realistic lighting on the actors and sets.
A little reflection.
And reflections. Think about Mando's shiny Beskar armor. Or the cockpit glass on his N1 starfighter.
Yeah. You'd see the environment reflected perfectly.
Right. Integrates everything seamlessly. They use it for, like you said, all the cockpit shots. And huge environments like that Imperial base in the finale. Stuff you just couldn't build practically.
It's just impossible, yeah. Or incredibly expensive.
Totally. It's a real game changer. But they didn't only use the volume.
Oh.
No, they blended it with real locations too. That first planet where the Mandalorians were hiding out, that drew from Lake Powell.
Oh, gorgeous.
And the big sequence with the giant eagle creature, that used landscapes around Moab, Utah. the red rocks.
Ah, okay, I can picture that.
And remember the dogfight over Kalevala? Parts of that used scenery from the Isle of Skye in Scotland.
Wow. So a real mix of digital and actual places.
That's exactly. That mix is key to the show's look and the design of Mandalore itself.
Yeah, talk about that. Devastated. Stormy trinitite crusted was the description. What's that?
Trinitite, yeah, it's this glassy stuff that actually forms when the sand fuses in a nuclear blast.
Whoa, so that detail tells you just how bad the Great Purge was.
Right. It's inspired by real nuclear test sites. That level of detail, thinking about the ruins of Sindari, the mines, the living waters, it's intense.
And then you had Placer 15, which was the total opposite, that utopian city.
Yeah, chapter 22.
Yeah.
Very different vibe. They actually referenced old sci-fi like Logan's Run for that, and even like early Epcot designs from Disney.
Huh. Interesting.
They even used some aerial shots of the Florida Everglades as a base for the cityscape.
Clever.
But what really makes Mando special, I think, is they still use traditional effects too.
Mm.
Practical creatures, animatronics, models.
Right, it's not all CGI. Keeps it feeling grounded, kind of lived in, like classic Star Wars.
Exactly. And the creatures this season? 19 new ones, apparently.
19? That's a lot. I love those little Enzellan droid smiths. Babu Frick's species.
Oh yeah, they were amazing. Tiny little puppets, like half Grogu's size. The mechanics for their faces were apparently like watchmaking. So intricate.
Adorable but complex.
Totally. And IG-12, the droid Grogu pilots, that was a full-on Bunraku puppet.
Meaning
puppeteers were literally inside it, controlling it physically.
Yeah.
Gave Grogu really realistic movement inside the droid, helped him interact naturally with the actor.
Ah, clever.
Yeah.
Avoids dodgy CGI for close-ups.
Right. Even the big scary mech spider was mostly a practical build by Legacy Effects. They had CG version too, but the practical one was key.
And the huge monsters, the turtle thing, the eagle, the mythosaur.
Yeah, those needed serious CG, especially for how they interacted with like water and sand, complex simulations to make them feel real in the environment.
Man, the work involved. And the sound, the music this season. Joseph Shirley took over from Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah, big shoes to fill.
But did you catch those little echoes of John Williams? Like during the Chorus King Carnival scene, you could kind of hear the March of the Resistance theme.
Oh, I did. Yeah, subtle, but it was there. Those little musical nods really connect everything, don't they?
Yeah.
Adds that layer of history.
It really does. Feels familiar yet new. Okay, let's shift to the people in the helmets and behind the scenes. The cast.
Right.
Obviously, Pedro Pascal is Din Djarin. That voice is iconic, sets the whole tone.
Absolutely.
But portraying Mando physically, it's actually a team effort, isn't it? We found out Brendan Wayne does a lot of the swagger, the walk, and Lateef Crowder brings the speed and agility in the fights.
Yeah, it's fascinating. 3 guys essentially bringing one character to life, especially since we rarely see his face.
It makes you think about how much those stunt performers contribute, right? They sell the physicality.
Totally. Their skill is what makes Mando believable as this warrior, even hidden behind the armor.
And Katie Sackhoff is Bo-Katan. Just awesome to have her back.
And amazing that she voiced her for years in Clone Wars and Rebels first.
Yeah, that's pretty rare to make that jump to live action. She's been really open about how many different stunt women are actually in the suit for the heavy action stuff.
Which shows real respect for their expertise,
Oh.
making Bo-Katan look like the incredible fighter she is.
She made some funny comment about not being in the armor in 2025, which was funny because the movie wrapped in 2024.
Huh. Yeah, shows her sense of humor about it. But that collaboration is key for a role like that. Her dedication across different mediums is incredible. She is Bo-Katan.
And we got to shout out Grogu's puppeteers. The talent there is just unreal.
He feels so alive.
Right, the little head tilts, the ear wiggles. Katie Sackhoff joked he's a total diva and pays everyone's rent with the merch sales.
I believe it. But that blend of puppetry and animatronics is what makes him work so well. Allows for real interaction on set.
Adds that charm. Season 3 also had some great guest stars and cameos.
Oh yeah, packed.
Nonso Anozi as Gorian Shard, the Pirate King. Really cool design. Kind of reminded me of those Dringer plant monsters from the High Republic stuff. Gave him this ancient, dangerous feel.
Interesting connection. And Katie O'Brien was back as Ilia Kane, the ex-Imperial in the Amnesty Program.
Yeah, that whole Amnesty Program idea is fascinating. Clearly some loyalties die hard.
Then you had the really surprising ones.
Yeah.
Jack Black and Lizzo on Placer 15.
Right. As Captain Bombardier and the Duchess. That was unexpected.
Definitely added a unique flavor to that episode, almost whimsical. Apparently it was a conscious choice to bring some lightness, contrast it with the heavier themes elsewhere.
Made sense. And Christopher Lloyd as Commander Hellgate.
Doc Brown in Star Wars. And Tim Meadows, too, as Colonel Tuttle.
But the two biggest cameos for lore fans, Ahmed Best returning.
Keller and Beck, saving Grogu during Order 66. That was huge.
Such a great moment for him and for the fans. And seeing Zeb Aurelios in live action.
Sure is he. Yeah, with Steve Blum still doing the voice.
Yeah.
Popping up with Captain Teva.
Yeah.
Massive for Rebels fans.
Yeah. Really connects the shows. Even the cinematographer Dean Cundy had a tiny cameo.
Blink and you miss it, yeah. At the carnival. And on the Imperial side, Moff Gideon's Saddle Council. We saw Captain Pelion.
Played by Xander Berkeley, a deep cut from the old Legends book.
Shows they're really paying attention to the wider lore, pulling stuff in.
And all this speaks to the collaboration behind the camera too, doesn't it? Favreau, Filoni, Rick Famuyiwa. They had a clear vision, but seemed open to ideas.
Yeah, interviews suggest it was quite a dynamic process, almost like a writer's room feel sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the directors they brought in.
A great mix. Bryce Dallas Howard, back again. Carl Weathers, who's also Grief Karga, of course.
Right. Rick Famuyiwa directed too. Liazik Chung, Peter Ramsey, Rachel Morrison, each brought their own style.
Bryce Dallas Howard even got her husband, Seth Gable, in as the bartender droid in her episode.
Nice little touch.
Okay, let's dig into some specific trivia, the fun details. We mentioned Grogu lifting the crabs.
The Yoda-Luke-Rey connection?
Fun Easter egg, but also kind of shows his path, right? Force user and Mandalorian foundling.
Exactly. Blends his two worlds.
I'm Bo-Katan mentioning she knows Jedi. That's got to be Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Anakin from Clone Wars, maybe Ezra and Kanan from Rebels.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Gives her this unique perspective. Having known Jedi from different eras, seen their strengths and weaknesses. How will that play out later?
Good question.
Yeah.
Then, the Mythosaur.
Whoa.
Seeing one alive in the living waters. That symbol's been around since Empire Strikes Back. Huge moment.
Huge. Ties into the deep, almost spiritual side of Mandalore. And that Bo-Katan saw it, not Din. Feels significant, like destiny calling.
Speaking of destiny, the Darksaber. Gideon just breaks it.
Yeah. Surprising, right? After being obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Maybe just pure spite. Or maybe trying to break the Mandalorians' reliance on it as the symbol.
Interesting take. Force them to unite around something else.
Could be. And it nicely sets up Bo-Katan wielding it again. She has the experience from Rebels.
Right. And Din gives it to her willingly after admitting he was captured, so she gets it through respect, not combat.
Which feels like a shift, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Away from rigid rules towards, like, earned leadership, important for rebuilding their society.
We also got more hints about what the Imperials are up to. Dr. Pershing talking about cloning.
Mm-hmm. And mentioning Kaminoan tech, straight out of Attack of the Clones and the Bad Batch.
Definitely setting up the background for the First Order, Palpatine's return. The threat is bigger than just Gideon.
Absolutely. And they even mentioned Gideon facing a New Republic War Tribunal, another idea pulled from the old Legends continuity.
And some fun slang callbacks, too. Hellgate used that Quadra calling the stifling, slimy line.
Which Boba Fett and Cad Bane used before. Yeah. Nice deep cut.
And Din's classic. I like those odds when he's outnumbered. Love that callback to Season 1.
Little things like that reward the longtime viewers, weave everything together. Yeah. Even the look of Coruscant felt very Blade Runner, didn't it?
Totally. Gritty, neon. And the droids only bar. Funny contrast to Mos Eisley's no droids rule.
Shows different corners of the galaxy. And seeing old B-1 and B-2 battle droids from the prequels was a fun touch, too.
So, wrapping it all up, what's the big takeaway from Season 3?
Well, it definitely delivered on exploring Mandalorian culture more deeply. United them, set them up as a real power player again.
And established that the Imperial threat is still very much out there, maybe bigger than we thought.
For sure. But I think the really interesting thing to think about for you listening is Grogu's choice.
Staying with Din instead of training as a Jedi.
Yeah. How does that fundamentally change things? Not just for them, but for Mandalorian culture. Having this Force-sensitive foundling in their midst.
Bringing those two traditions together.
Exactly. And what does the idea of foundlings, of chosen family, mean in a galaxy where old institutions like the Jedi Order are gone or changing? It feels like maybe the strongest bonds aren't based on old rules, but on connection, on shared purpose.
That's a great thought to end on. A new kind of strength for a new era. And that wraps our journey through The Mandalorian Season 3. If you loved navigating Mandalorian lore, epic fights, and Easter eggs with us, follow roll credits and share it with your fellow Star Wars fans.
Yeah, let us know what you thought.
We'll be back soon with more behind-the-scenes stories, more movie magic, and maybe a few more blaster shots. Stay curious.